Hello and welcome to Take Me Through Your Day. On this episode, we have a paramedic. And like I've said on some previous shows, warning, there is some graphic content in this, so if you're squeamish, maybe skip around a little bit. Other than that, it's a very good episode. I think you'll really like it. Yeah, that's it. I think you'll dig it. As per usual, if you or someone you know would like to be on the show, we can be reached at TakeMeTYD on all social media and TakeMeTYD@gmail.com. Enjoy the show. You were an EMT, right?
A paramedic.
Paramedic. How long were you in that field?
From about 1990 to about probably 2002, I think, when I left for the University of Toledo.
Okay.
My last EMS job.
All right, and how old were you when you got started?
Actually, I was a junior firefighter at the age of 14.
Oh, sweet.
So from 14 to 16, I was a junior firefighter, and then I left for a while. And then when I turned 18, I got back into it, became an EMT, and then took the one of the first rapid courses, or the speedy courses that I don't know if they had a name for it even yet, but the paramedic program used to be like 9 months to a year long, 9 to 12 months long, and they switched it to for, if you tested in, 6 months.
Okay, now is this something you went to a specific school for, or is this something that you kind of like got involved with through the fire department?
Well, I mean, my interest started at the fire department, and then I kind of realized that although fighting fires and getting on the fire engine is cool, and going to burning buildings and smokehouses, you know, the training, all that stuff was fun, and having actually been into some burning homes, that's cool and that's exciting, but it wasn't for me. I rather help the people that were dragged out of the house, or help the firefighters that sprained an ankle or smoke inhalation. I enjoyed the treating people more than like the putting out the fire or tearing the vehicle apart. Even though I had those certifications, it just was more like I had them. Didn't want to do them, but if in a pinch, especially with the volunteer services, you never know who's going to show up. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be just the day where it's you and two other firefighters, and there's a burning house and there's someone in it. Well, even though you don't really particularly like doing that, you don't have a choice. You have to go get them. Yeah. So, I maintained my certs and kept them up, but I mean, I really focused on the EMS side, and went even for my instructors, for EMT, first responder, nurse practitioner, and physicians that go in the field. I took the courses to train them and get them certified.
All right. Just to backtrack a little bit, just because I want to get from jump, what got you into the fire department at 14? What sparked that?
I'm not really sure, honestly. I honestly don't know. It was something to do. They had it. Not all fire departments did back then. This was in the 80s, the mid-80s, mid to late 80s. Because of the risk. I mean, to have 14, 16, 17, 18-year-olds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, once you're 18, they're not a little less concerned. But when you're a minor, there's all sorts of rules you have to follow. But the state does allow for you to be a volunteer, and the function even allowing you to go out at night, where you normally wouldn't be able to work at night in most jobs. Yeah. Being emergency management, emergency services. All right. Can't really.
Yeah.
Schedule those things.
Yeah, exactly. To that though, I mean, like, did you have a friend in the fire department, or did you have
eventually
the building close by? Or I'm just trying to get inside your 14-year-old head. It's like, this is for me.
It was kind of the thing to do for me. Candy. I was a candy striper for a little bit at the hospital. Okay. And that was just a little bit too boring. Yeah. That was like, filling water pitchers and bringing flowers into the room.
Do they still have candy strippers?
I think they do.
Are they still called that?
I don't know. They might be teen volunteers or teen ambassadors or something now, but yeah, it was boring. So I think I did that first, and then because my grandmother was a volunteer, and she'd done it for a number of years. So I did it, and I'd go in when she would go in to do her volunteer shift. Although she sat at a desk, like the reception desk, and told people where to go and looked up patient room numbers and things like that. And then I was the idiot that was running around all over the hospital doing things.
Yeah.
But it was, I wanted to do something more meaningful than giving water. And so becoming an EMT and paramedic and,
Okay, I could see where that's kind of pushing you in a direction. As a 14-year-old volunteer at the fire department, what are some of the activities that they would let you do or have you do?
At that age, you don't get to go into burning buildings other than in fire school, in fire academy. You can go do training, smokehouses. They'll build. Sometimes they'll build a structure, a simple wooden structure, or they'll use like double wide trailers, but make it bi-level, so you're crawling up and down steps inside of like a double wide trailer. They'd burn like hay and it would smoke up. I mean, you could do things like that, or even they'd have a fire room and you'd go in and squirt the hose and put the fire out. You could do those things, train on how to use the different equipment. The self-contained breathing apparatus. So if you're in a biohazardous or a hazmat situation, you don't have to breathe the contaminated air. You can breathe some clean air through a tank. So it was pretty much training. I mean, and you could stand around and look official at a fire scene. Really, I mean, it gave you fire gear and everything. You pretty much stand around and be a gopher, like run from truck to truck or grab this hose or this tool and bring it to someone. But yeah,
I could see where that'd be helpful, though. I mean, that's.
But you can also see why after a while I was like, well, all the training's fun, but I want to actually go do something. So
exactly.
By the time I hit 16, just kind of the fire thing wasn't really for me. Plus, at that point, then that's when I started becoming a DJ and got my job in radio and all that. So I kind of took a diversion from.
Touch a little bit on that, because we'll get into that a little bit later, but I want the lineage here. So 16, you're kind of done with the fire department briefly.
Yeah, when I was 15, someone at a Christian coffee house that my mom used to go to, there was a guy there that was worked at a secular, what they call secular couple, worldly club. Yeah. And somewhere in like border of Monroeville and like Turtle Creek. It was a pretty happening club, He did lights and then DJing from time to time there, and I just was interested. So he started feeding me some of his equipment, turntable, tape decks, mixer, just some odds and end things. And I, in my bedroom, started learning how to do it, and then I'd go to the coffee house and start spinning with him, and then. My high school had a television production program, a 2-year TV production program, and I did that, and then got an internship at a radio station one summer.
Was it like a college radio station or like a bigger one locally?
No, it was WXXP, one of the, I think it was like the third or fourth alternative rock station in America.
I know that one. Nice.
That was 87. Summer of 87, I did that.
And what did the internship entail?
I did usually Thursdays, and they had like the Screamer of the Week, I believe it was, and it was like their top song of the week.
Yeah.
I think it was like 8 tracks or 8 or 10 songs, and people would call in, and so you'd just sit on from probably like 5 to 7. You'd sit on the phone lines and just answer.
Oh, okay.
Because I knew how to do some things. Every once in a while, someone would have to go, when the DJs would have to go to the bathroom or just needed to be doing something, and I could mix some music in or, run the board, and they'll do the talking. Every once in a while they would ask me questions, like the callers of like, what's happening on the phone lines, give my impression of where the count's going or who's ahead, who's behind, things like that. Yeah, it was another kind of scut work. It was an internship.
Yeah, but I mean, that's still exciting to be in radio. I love doing stuff like that. So what gets you out of that and back into the kind of, helping people world?
Well, I mean, I did the radio. I went to another radio station where I was supposed to be like an intern again. but someone quit. And instead of being an intern, I never did the job they actually hired for me. They gave me a radio show.
Oh, really?
It's like, here, you can have like 4 o'clock or whenever you get off of school, during school time, to like 7, 8 o'clock. That's your shift. And then I eventually was supervised the weekend programming. It was like ethnic programming and oldies programming. Irish and Italian and Polish and what was it, Charlie Apple and the Charlie Apple show, which is like 50s doo-bop and all that kind of stuff. Supervised them and filled in for them whenever they someone called off sick. Did that until we got bought out by a Christian radio station or conglomerate.
Yeah.
And they turned it into an easy listening radio station. We went from adult contemporary hit radio and kind of an urban blend to WEZE, easy listening for your afternoon. And it was so boring. It was so, most of it was instrumental. And they wanted me to sign an exclusivity contract that basically said for 6 months, should I get fired or quit, I could not work at a radio station within 60 miles of.
Well, 6 months isn't that bad, but
I had another line because I wanted to. I didn't want that format,
yeah.
So I had the option to go somewhere else, and I was pursuing it. So I knew if I was going to want to do that and get the chance to do that, then I would need to quit before they made me sign the contract. So I did, and then the job fell through. The other radio job fell through, and I was like, let me do something fun and something that helps the community while I'm going to school, maybe pay some bills. So I went back and started the EMT school and paramedic training, and instructor training and all the other certs that I went and got. But yeah, it was just kind of something fell through in radio, and
it's just happenstance.
And I was planning on going to college, and I thought, well, medics make back then probably $10 to $18 an hour depending on where you worked. So it wasn't too bad for, like 1991.
Yeah, that's not too shabby for what, you're 19 at this point?
Yeah, I was 19 by the time
19?
I finished the paramedic program.
Okay, so take me through the general, I know there's really no way to isolate a day in the life of a paramedic, but just give me a basic rundown of like when your day starts, and let's just start with that. When does your day start?
Well, really, it kind of depends on what service you're working for. If you're, paramedics don't always work in the field. Sometimes we work in the emergency rooms too. Mm-hmm. And I was an instructor, so I was also teaching. Okay. So it kind of varied for me. But literally shifts really could be really random too. Anywhere from your traditional like 9 to 5 or 3 to 11, things like that, to what I actually preferred was working like 24-hour shifts. When I was in the field, because then, and you could sleep. You just lived there for 24 hours, and any calls that came in, you had to handle. And back then there was a shortage of paramedics, so I was a young paramedic with privileges, which you had to get, after you got your state cert, you had to get a doctor to say, yes, I allow you to function under my license and do all these cool things and put needles and tubes and all different kinds of places. So I prefer the 24-hour shifts, but it just kind of depends on what service. You kind of, honestly, we called ourselves EMS whores, because you would basically, I think I worked at 3 services because I worked part-time. Yeah. So I worked at 3 different services. One was like 24-hour shift. One was, work 8 or 12 hours, basically I ended up working about 50 hours plus volunteering and teaching.
But it would, generally speaking, be pretty erratic schedule. Yeah,
it really was. Once you're there, if you're volunteering, then you never know. You could be at home in bed or cutting your grass or sunbathing, and you have your pager and it goes off, and you throw on a jumpsuit or whatever.
You just gotta go.
You go. Well, if you want to, if it's a volunteer. So and then. So after a while, at first I would go on everything, but then after a while I became picky. And then certainly when I became a supervisor, field supervisor, and then a manager, I became uber picky.
Yeah.
And the gunshots I'll go on, or the bad vehicle accidents, or things that just no one else is responding to, and if I could, I would go. And if I was being paid, and I was salaried, then I would have to go. But
what qualifies the good calls? The calls that you're like, I'm going to do this one.
Well, I mean, there's some calls that paramedics have there's nothing for us to do.
Oh.
It's a basic at EMT level call, and there's no ALS skills needed. And so typically in those situations, we didn't want to go because once we got too involved in patient care, we had to stay with the patient.
Mm.
But if at least back then, they've changed the rules now where you can step it down to a lower level care, and with the permission of the physician, say this doesn't need to have a paramedic. But yeah, if I'm tied up on Granny's having abdominal pain because she hasn't pooped in 4 days.
Yeah.
Most likely they don't need a paramedic.
Yeah.
The chest pain needs the paramedic.
Uh-huh.
Or the infant calls, the children calls, probably good because with kids they can hold on stable for a really long time and then they crash. Uh-huh. They have this ability to compensate for a really long time and then they crash. So anytime it was a kid call, plus I didn't have kids and kids didn't scare me or freak me out. In fact, I liked putting needles in kids because it was something. Well, they're so small, and it was just very technical, dexterous thing, and you just didn't get to do it often. And if you couldn't get an IV, you get to put basically a spinal tap needle into their bones,
Jesus
like
Christ.
in their leg, right below their knee. So I mean, any chance to go do something like that you might get to do once every couple of years. Those were the good calls,
right.
The interesting calls of that just sounds interesting, like things stuck places.
Uh-huh.
Or, or just, sometimes you just gotta have a gut feeling like this is gonna be interesting.
Well, being is that we can't really get through the beats of your day because they're always so random.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular stories that stand out?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's quite a bit. And it's not that, when you volunteer and then working in the field, it just becomes kind of like everything bleeds into the next thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, typically, once I got a little bit older, it was a more traditional day. And when I got into management, I was salaried and I would work my either office day or field day. And that became really routine. But, I mean, when you're 19 and they let you do really cool things to people's bodies, I constantly went and constantly did it until I just realized that I needed to have a life.
Yeah.
Basically, when I turned 21, 22, and started going to the bars and clubs, then I was like, well, we got to set some time aside for that, and kind of routinized my, even my volunteer hours. I'd go to the station typically, for like 3-4 hours, chill out, hang out with some of the guys or whatever. We had a gym there and things like that. Just hang out, see if any calls came in, and then if not, I'd go home. But you can't drink or do any illicit substances for at least 8 hours before your shift.
Yeah.
By law. So once I became of age to drink, then I started to I have more of a pattern in my life because I had to block out that 8 hours of sobering up time.
Absolutely. But you make your mind up. And we're like, all right, I need to structure my life a little bit. What's the first move where you're like, this is my set of skills. Now I need to, structure my week more. What do you do?
You start not paying attention to your pager. You're turning off the times. You just kind of block out time where I'm going to shut everything off. I don't need to hear about it. I don't need to know about it. I don't want to be tempted.
And because you're on that volunteer basis, you don't get in trouble for anything like that?
You have to make a certain number of calls a month and meetings and trainings and things like that. But as long as you get them, maybe, if you did 4 to 5 days of, not even full 8-hour days, but 4 to 5 days of several hours, you could accomplish everything you needed to do for that month to maintain your standing as a good member. Okay.
That makes sense. I'd never thought about that before, but But so that's essentially what you did, is you're like, I'm going to create a weekend for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, 1 month, when I first started, I went like on 137 calls in like a month.
Wow.
Yeah, I basically lived on an ambulance.
I can
in the
imagine.
hospital or at the base, cleaning the,
Yeah.
And that was cool. I mean, you're young and you're dumb and you do these things, and you get a lot of experience, because I knew that the quicker that I got to do all the things that were within my scope of practice, and I became competent and comfortable with doing them out in the field by myself in really weird, conditions.
Yeah.
I mean, they teach you like in a classroom or in the ER and the OR and the units how to do things, but they're well lit.
Yeah.
The temperature's controlled. You can quiet down noise if you want. And you can. There's a lot of control in the field. Yeah, nothing kind of goes as it's. I learned to intubate a patient. Sitting in a chair at a table on a mannequin.
Yeah.
And then I get in the field, and it's an old guy in a high rise in the stairwell.
Uh-huh.
Where you have maybe 5 foot by 3 foot wide, like landing in between, and there's many flights to go down and many flights to go up, but you kind of just got to work the code until you at least get the first line medications and give the hardest shot to restart. So you have to start everything right there. You can't wait to we'll get them into the ambulance, or we'll get them to the elevator. No, you have to start right there. So I mean, you would be lying down, your body, your head, your feet up the stairs and your head down, looking into the patient's throat, sideways, which you never do, and you're looking for landmarks within the throat, the trachea. It was, but so I knew I needed to get those experiences in and feel comfortable doing the things that are realistic and what we really do, or starting IVs in the back of an ambulance that's speeding down a bumpy road.
Also true.
Because sometimes you really just don't have the time to stop. Because there's only so much time. We have the golden hour in EMS. And EMS really wants to dump the patient within like 15 to 20 minutes, so that we don't eat up all the time that the doctors have for the golden hour.
What is the golden hour?
It's basically in a traumatic call or a serious cardiac or respiratory call. The patient has the best survival chance if they get to a definitive care unit or OR, depending on what they need. It might be cath lab, just the ER, or under the knife in the operating room within 60 minutes. If it's done within 60 minutes, their outcomes of getting out of the hospital alive and well go up dramatically. Every minute past the 60-minute mark, I mean, really quickly starts to decrease the likelihood. So we really try to be fast, and so there's not necessarily time to play around and screw around on scene. You have to get your IV, get your intubation if you're doing airway management, or you get some drugs in if you need to, or fluids in, and then you package them up, or 12 lead EKG, whatever it is you need to do diagnostically and treatment wise. You need to do quickly, and you need to get them in the back of the ambulance and drive them to the hospital, or on a helicopter to go to if the hospital's too far. And I worked at some services that like 45-minute hour drive to the nearest hospital. So we flew a lot of people, but we also, weather doesn't always permit that. So sometimes I would manage a patient, for a really long time. But I did that like midway through my career, and then later in my career, that's when that, the further out services. But initially I was like 10 minutes work with the service. I lived 10, 15 minutes away from the hospital. You didn't have a lot of time, so. Yeah. But I got really fast and really good and tried all these different things, skills out in the field. And once I did that, and the new car smell of my medic badge, went away, and I was like, okay, well, I'm competent. I can do it now. I don't have to prove myself to my team members. I don't have to prove myself to myself, doctors. Now I can be more picky and slow down.
Yeah, and really structure your life.
Yeah.
To a point.
And I started dating. I mean, everything. You start going out, you start dating. You have to start making priorities that include a life. Although, there were times at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, your boyfriend or girlfriend's in bed with you, and they'd be like, okay, there's a house fire with children trapped inside.
Yeah.
I know you don't want me to get up right now. I know we're in the middle of something perhaps, but, you know, there was always that call. But, you know, after definitely probably within 3 years of getting my license, yeah, I was much calmer, much more.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But is there any stories that stick out that you really learned something at? Like something that's like, if this didn't go down this way, I never would have learned.
There's definitely a couple. I mean, my first cardiac arrest, as I just had my license for like days, maybe hours. I mean, really, it was really fast. And it was not far from my house. So I went to the scene instead of going to, you know, that's one of the things EMTs and first responders, the drivers of the ambulance, they had to go get the ambulance, and, you know, but us medics, we had a lot of times we'll have ALS bags in our vehicles, and have equipment in our trucks or, you know, cars and things like that. And, you know, a lot of times they'll go anyways, and we'll meet them to the scene because they usually get there faster than us. The medics, we take our time, you know. It's kind of like in the hospital, the doctors go a little bit slower than the nurses and the technicians. Yeah. The medics in the field go a little bit slower than the people beneath you. Let them do their stuff, their BLS stuff, and get things situated before I want to swoop in. But this was near my house, and he was honestly, I mean, my adrenaline was rushing, everything. I should have caught that he was been dead a while, honestly, the guy. I mean, not a horribly long time, but, you know, a good hour or two he'd been down. And I probably shouldn't have started, you know, ACLS protocols and started to work at cardiac arrest. But I did. And I was by myself. And I had Mother May. I was brand new. I had to call a doctor before I really did anything advanced.
Gotcha.
So we kind of called it Mother May I medics, you know, for the first, you know, few months. And I was by myself. There's a family that's freaking out. I'm 19, and I'm not getting an ambulance. I mean, I'm there. I'm working the code, but no one else is showing up. And I'm like, you know, Westmoreland 911, Medic 135.3, bang out 69, 135, 102, 126 for ALS paramedic assist. You know, and just, you know, constantly, you know, like doing breaths, doing compressions. Can I have some help? Can I have some help? Finally get an EMT with me and a first responder. And somehow my keys were lost. All the medic stuff's locked up. Somewhere in the room with me, the keys got thrown.
Wow. So
I can't do anything without talking to a doctor. I can't really, they're not situated yet to do that. I'm looking for keys. I can't, it was mayhem, and I panicked. I you know, got tunnel vision. So I learned real quick. It's like, take a step back. Sometimes you don't necessarily want to be the first person there. Or if you are, you need to make better judgment calls, like the fact that he was probably someone you should have just said, I'm very sorry, you know, do you have an undertaker you'd like me to call? You know, start the paperwork for that. But I was new, and I was like, I got to save this guy.
How does the family respond at that point? Like, you're there trying your best, and they're freaking out, but like, when they see you kind of in a panic, like how do they react? Oh, it's not helpful. It's not. I can't imagine it being helpful at all.
I have to say, I had another cardiac arrest call where the patient was strapped to the backboard. He was in the bathroom. Older people love to vagus. They have a vagus nerve. They bear down to, you know, go have a bowel movement, and they'll drop their blood pressure, pass out. Sometimes their heart rate will slow down to the point they'll go into cardiac arrest. So older people love to have cardiac arrest and fall in between commode and bathtub all the time. It was one of those, so it took us a while to get him out of there and everything. He was a bigger guy. Got him strapped to the board, and then at the bottom of the steps, you know, there's like 2 more steps that you had to do, but you had to kind of switch, make a right angle, and to go down them. And with the long 6-foot solid
Yeah.
board, you can't. It doesn't. That,
Yeah, it's
you have
all-
to lift it over the banister. I was not doing this. Let me just say, but I was down on the floor talking. I just got done talking to the emergency room, and I was talking to the family and just telling them what we're going to do and where we're going and everything, and not to follow too closely because we're going to run. We're going to run the lights and that, and you can't run the lights with us.
Don't
And
do that.
when out of the corner of my eye, I saw the patient starting to roll off the board, and then they couldn't quite stabilize and catch it, and it started, and the person dropped the board, and he landed face planting into the floor
Oh my gosh.
from about 6 feet up in the air.
Why was he 6 feet up in the air?
Because we're lifting him up over the banister
Oh,
to get around the
Okay.
that corner. And all I could think to say was, well, that has never happened before. With the wife who's standing right next to me. I mean, that was all I could say. Like, and it had never happened before. I was like, I was, my face, I'm sure was, I mean, she knew I was shocked. I mean, she was shocked. I mean, and they knew it wasn't intentional. And he was a big man. I mean, if you're fat, and I'm a big guy, but if you're fat, realize that, we're not he-men and women. And we're going to do our best to not drop you, but sometimes those things happen. That was, you have things like that.
and the family's there for that too.
They were standing right there. The wife was standing right next to me.
Do they say anything?
They were, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, because you're going to piss off the people that are helping,
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
Do most people get that?
Yeah, actually. And never piss off the paramedic who's good at starting an IV one. Yeah, I've had that. I've told that to patients. Like, really, do you really want to keep being a dick to me? Usually it was drunk patients.
Well,
Do you really want to continue? I have the big needle. I have small needles. I can be very good and get this on the first try, or I could miss a couple times. Your choice. And we really didn't do that, but
had the thought,
we would sometimes, anything we could do to get them to calm down. Sometimes it's like, because if you're in the back of an ambulance at 50 miles an hour and the patient is uncooperative, it could be kind of scary.
What's a scenario like that with you got someone drunk and belligerent? Like, well, why they get an ambulance call? Like a bar fight or something?
Yeah, or car accidents. I mean, I had a drunk guy who had a head injury. So is he being combative because he has the head injury and bleeding from the scalp quite profusely, or is it because he's a drunk asshole?
Yeah.
He wanted to swing at me, so I took a 4D cell mag light, if it's a flashlight, and just stood in the airway chair, the captain's chair that's behind the head, and just held it about a quarter inch, half an inch above his, Adam's apple.
Yeah.
So if he lifted up out of the blocks that we had stabilizing his head and the bandages that he was keeping the bandages on, and every time he moved, blood was spurting at his head and like spurting at me and around the ambulance. So I basically sat there with the flashlight, and told him, keep your mask on, your oxygen mask on, and don't move. If you move, you're going to choke yourself out. Now, is that necessarily appropriate or correct medical treatment or care, or is that a textbook? No, but he wanted to beat me up, and the girl, the 30-some, I was, younger, she's like maybe 39, 40-year-old woman that was with me, she wasn't a girl, PTA mom, really, he wanted to beat her up and me up.
Yeah.
Well, no, you can't. And not at 50 miles an hour to the hospital with a head injury, which you spraying blood all over the place.
Everywhere.
Yeah. And stop doing that because you only have so much blood. So I'm trying to help you. So I mean, sometimes you do things like that. I've had, I had a patient that pulled a gun out from under the sofa seat, the cushion.
What's the scenario there?
It was an unknown medical. And got there, and he said I wasn't feeling well, and he wasn't happy, and he was sad, and he was depressed, and my partner went out to the ambulance to get something, and I was kneeling down, going through the, getting some stuff out of the bag to write things down and take vitals and everything, and I look up and I see him put the gun in his mouth and pull the trigger.
Jesus. And just no provocation. He was just like, it's now or never. Wow, that's heavy. How do you handle yourself after something like that?
I'm gonna shit myself.
Bet.
And peed myself. Or like, well, it was loud. It was like, it was so unexpected. It really was like, it was like in the 50s, late 40s, 50s, I think. Yeah, you just, well, this becomes a different call, and you go into now this is a trauma. This is a gunshot trauma, a head wound. But I realized very quickly that he was like, yeah, I can't do it anymore. Like,
I was gonna say,
there are
like,
brains on the wall.
So it's pretty much.
But I mean, you have to make the initial assessment, like.
Well, yeah.
Like, I mean, because sometimes you have a head injury, a bullet to the head, and we can manage it.
Yeah.
But in this case, he had a good aim.
He did the job.
Didn't jerk it out.
Mm.
A lot of times people jerk the gun out or around, and it won't go. The brain will go like up in the face.
Yeah.
And they won't die, but they'll blow off their face.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. Then you go and see this faceless. But another call that was quite traumatic for me and for the person. I was in Natrona Heights working for Citizens Hose Ambulance Services, mostly a volunteer organization, but they paid their paramedics because we're the harder things to get. It's a lot more education, and we have to constantly do Con Ed and do ER time and take classes and get certs. So they pay the medics, and then the EMTs would come in to drive the ambulance and make up the rest of the crew. I was on a driver's training with 2 first responders, not even EMTs. Well, one was going to be an EMT because then they were actually my student because I was their instructor.
Yeah.
We're driver's training with them, and I was just driving, in the back seat with them, and we got a page out for a motor vehicle accident. A woman had gone. There's a 2-lane road. One direction, and then there's like an island with their houses and businesses, and then a 2-lane road going in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
They're really busy. There's some there's some places where you can cut in to make turns or go from one way to the other way. But they had houses and business, like I said. She was getting out of the car. They stopped the car. This was Thanksgiving evening. She stopped the car. Her husband stopped the car. She got out to open garage doors that pulled out. Pulled open. 2 doors that pulled open. When she was doing this, someone came from behind, hit the car that her husband was sitting in. It spun, and then I didn't see this part, but I was told it spun, and then the back end that turned around, kind of went from. When it did that, shot her a good 20-30 feet in the air.
So the car that the husband was in spun around, or the one that hit the car spun around?
Well, they both kind of did.
Okay.
But it was the husband's car that did the turn that smacked her and flew her. It's dark. There's not a lot of light a lot of times on a roadway. So it was me and a flashlight in the go bag. And I walk up, and I see her feet, and her toes are pointing up in the air.
All right.
Okay, so she's face up. Except when I get to the head part, she's face down.
Oof.
It took a sec.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm by myself basically. I have like Nimrods with me. It's like, so I'm like, you got on the radio and started asking for help. My radio broke.
Bad time.
They could hear me. I could not hear them. So I'm begging for help. Like, I'm Nimrods. I literally cannot do everything that needs to be done. So I'm like, continue hitting out our station. Put a helicopter on standby. Are you reading this? Are you copying this? Can I please get a message? Confirmation. Is anyone en route? Bang out. Medic, the hospital medic. Bang out. Another service. I need help. Then the fire whistles kicked in, and then I was like, someone's coming. I was like, okay, at least the fire department's going to come now. Someone's hearing me. But got her boarded and got her situated.
So she's still alive at this point.
Yeah, she made it to well, actually, roof.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where they used to land. She made it to the roof and then died on the way down the elevator to get to Trauma.
So what, like?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, her legs. She had bilateral femoral fractures, and they rotated so that her feet were pointing up. That's a lot of blood loss. In fact, she had. She was a heavyset lady, and some of the they were open, so there's like fat, like all over my boots, which I found out human fat makes really great shoe polish.
Interesting way to learn
As
that.
I was wiping it down, at the hospital, I'm like, oh, this is like
shiny.
I don't think this is sanitary, but it's very shiny. But yeah, I that was one of those, the mishaps, you with equipment or other people, were the most stressful times because we're to be, we're trained to be in control. We're trained to manage scenes. And whoever's in charge of the patient care is in charge of the scene.
Yeah.
So I'm in charge of the patient care. I'm God. And when no one's answering you back, you're like, okay, I'm no longer God. And that's a bad thing because if I'm not God, my patient does not do well. I have to be God right now. But I somehow got her legs flipped, splinted on a board, mostly by myself. I did get the lady who was a nurse stopped and got out, and she was holding the neck and doing this cervical spine management for me. But for the first 5 minutes, it was just probably 3 minutes was me. Then the last 2 of the 5 minutes, it was this nurse, and then the fire department came, and then the hospital medic arrived, and then the police, and everyone started. The cavalry came, and they're like, "We're answering you, dude." Like, can you not hear us? I'm like, well, I was like a good 50 feet from the ambulance too, so all I had was my portable radio. And when it does not work, I knew she was critical, and I'm like, if I need to be fast. I need that 60 minutes.
Help right
I need to. So, and we were actually just blocks away from the hospital too. So,
but that's what ultimately happened was blood loss. That's how.
Yeah, we actually bypassed the ER. We literally wheeled her through the ER, down the hall to the helipad, which is like you have to go through the ER and down, past X-ray.
Yeah.
We basically like hi bye, through the ER, ran, and got her on a helicopter. But sadly, she didn't make it. But I have to say, I'd never seen that before. I'd never managed bilateral femur fractures that rotated and were open. But yeah, that was really memorable, and it was Thanksgiving evening too. It was really sad.
Yeah.
And it was just a bad night for me. My blood pressure. They took my blood pressure afterwards, just out of curiosity. Like, what's your blood pressure? Because you were like really, you're red in the face, dude. And it was pretty high. They're like, you should chill out for a little bit. I'm like, yeah, I will now.
I'd like to chill out.
I would like to very much, but I have to clean the ambulance first. But then I'm going to chill the hell out.
What age are you at this time?
Oh, I'd be maybe 23.
It's at 23. Yeah.
Yeah,
And what about when the guy killed himself? How old were you then?
I was, around this, that was like a year earlier.
I would say, like, that's some really insane stuff to witness at that young of an age. But I mean, I guess, there's a lot of you guys out there. So
when I was in kindergarten, I saw a guy get decapitated outside my house. There was a car accident outside my house, and I saw the head. It was a motorcycle.
Jesus.
So the head went.
You saw it. You saw the head go off, or you saw the head after it had been taken off?
I saw the head go off.
Oh my god! How old were you again?
I was in kindergarten.
Kindergarten.
That stuff didn't bother me, but I cut myself. I nicked myself shaving, and I have to sit down, call my mother, call an ambulance. It's traumatic. when you do blood draws, and they test, for TB and all different kinds of things, when you become a medic before you do your clinical. And I couldn't watch them draw my blood, and they said, are you sure this is the career for you? I said, oh no, I'm perfectly fine. Your head could roll off right now. Literally.
As long as it's not me.
I've seen that. It didn't faze me. I mean, it was freaky, and it did disturb my sleep for a while, but I managed that. My own blood, no, I can't do.
I can see that. I get that.
Yeah, I'm squeamish on my own. I'm also squeamish on talking about, we do grand rounds, what we call grand rounds, where we go over bad calls, both that were done successfully and bad calls, we ground rounded the whole communications failure thing, and that I was kind of, how could I have managed that situation better, or what, blah blah blah, and they tear you apart, and you learn, but they get very graphic, some of the slides and pictures and video and all that of the actual, watching that stuff back, I'm like, and they're like, you were there, you were covered in that blood, but now a week later you're
being removed from it.
Then it's, when I'm in the situation, I have to help this individual. If it's up to me, I can't freak out. If I freak out, they die. Mm-hmm. So I don't. But then afterwards, it'll hit me or make me squeamish. Just
I can see that.
Child abuse cases made me were very disturbing.
Yeah, that sounds pretty infuriating.
Yeah,
to deal with stuff like that.
And you really can't. Your job's not to be the police. Your job's to treat the kid. But it's hard not to want to punch. I had a child who was 4 or 5 years old, I think. The mother dipped the baby in hot bath water, very, very scalding hot bath water.
What the fuck?
So basically, near the, the feet up to near the kneecaps, were just beet red.
Why?
Because he was crying. He wouldn't stop crying.
Oh yeah, that'll do
it. That'll make them stop crying. Yeah, burn them. Yeah, scald them. That'll. And it was a young mother, and she looked development. She seemed developmentally disabled and not quite fit for parenting, and not quite fit for society at large, really. That things like that. I was pretty cool, really laid back. I was not very judgmental at all. I had a call where we went to the Holiday Inn for an unknown medical. And anytime it's an unknown medical, it's because it's either something there's not a classification for, or the people who are calling the ambulance won't give a good description of what's going on. They won't really answer the questions that the dispatcher is trying to get on.
Yeah.
And this was one of those cases. In the case, the problem was that the guy who was with the girl in the hotel room, they were not married. They were actually married to other people. Mm-hmm. They were having an affair. Got a little rambunctious, a little excited, and bit her nipple off.
Uh-huh.
Her question to me was, can we get it sewn on before my husband comes home at 5?
Priorities.
I'm not sure, ma'am. We're probably gonna have to take you to downtown Pittsburgh for plastic surgeons. I'm assuming that's what you're gonna want, not just some
not just,
super glue or something.
Slap it back on there.
Yeah, but you can't judge. I had a guy with a carrot stuck up his ass.
Yeah.
And a guy that put his wedding ring around his penis, and then it got stuck.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Can't judge that one.
No, I'm not judging. I'm just.
Well, you can. I couldn't at the time. Yeah, I didn't understand that either. I was like, wow.
What do you do in a situation like that?
We can give sometimes we'll just be able to cut it off using a ring cutter.
Okay, yeah.
But sometimes we have to deflate the penis first.
Yeah,
Give
I
it,
should probably do that.
The guy who had the carrot up the ass was, he said he was in a hurry when he got home from grocery shopping and forgot to put all the groceries away that were sitting on his bed.
Yeah, seems legit.
And when he got out of the shower, he just happened to sit on a carrot that inserted itself into his rectum.
I store my carrots vertically. So
my only question was like, okay, fair enough. Was there a tube of Vaseline next to the carrot? Because your ass is greasy, sir.
Your ass is greasy, sir.
But I can't judge. I'm just trying to get the clear picture. I just need to know.
Yeah. Covering just some of the last few things that you said, was there any like pet peeves about the job that would just be reoccurring? Like, really, this again?
It was usually ER staff that would be the annoying.
Oh, okay.
I had a patient who, we're in Lower Borough, and the patient's doctor was in Shadyside. She wanted to go to Shadyside. Well, I can't tell the patient, no, that's the hospital you want to go to? Okay, I'll take you to that hospital. Get to the Shadyside hospital, the doctor, goes up to me and says, well, you sure passed a lot of hospitals to get here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry to wake you from your nap. I was also sleeping and not getting paid for this shit. Doctors would be
Yeah.
I had a doctor that didn't speak English. I won't even say he didn't speak it well. He just didn't speak English. And he was giving me orders, and I did not know what he was saying to me. But we get the patient. It was a cardiac arrest. Young guy, late 20s, married, just got out of the shower, dropped over dead.
Wow.
And get there, his young wife and his kid are screaming and crying. The wife's trying to do CPR, and the baby's just going nuts. And call the doctor to, I had a medic student too. One of my friends is, I was precepting him. So, let him talk to the doctor first, and he, to get practice, giving a report to the doctor and giving orders,
Yeah.
Because we did the first stuff we could do, all the initial drugs and stuff that we do, because I was a precepting, paramedic. He, operates under, my license then, and privileges. And we did everything, and I said, call the, the doctor. He comes back, from the whatever room he went to make the call on the cell phone. He goes, I don't know what he said to me.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't on the call, so I don't know what was. Like, okay, are you just being a dumb student? Are you just being nervous? I don't know what's going on. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll talk to the doctor, and when we get in the truck, I'll use the radio. And the radio. Fuchang. Could you repeat that? Can I have those orders again? He said them again. Fuchang. Is this takeout? I no idea of what the hell that is. I'm like, I'm just going to go ahead and continue following ACLS protocol, and I'll be seeing you in about 10 minutes. So we roll in the ER. The doctor, no English.
Mm-hmm.
His only question to me was, why is the patient's underwear on backwards?
Okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's probably hard to get dressed when you're in the cardiac arrest. I don't know. What the fuck does And in the meantime, I'm like, and what the fuck were you saying? Here, what he was asking is the patient V-fibbing, and Fuchang was fluid challenge.
Fluid. What is that?
I mean, give a bolus of 250 or 500 cc's of saline or lactated ringers. Add add volume.
Yeah.
To the bloodstream. Okay, that after all that, your concern is, why is the patient's underwear backwards? What did you think we're doing something with the patient? I don't just kind of,
Yeah, I imagine stuff like this.
It was
very frustrating.
It was little things that I've had doctors yell at me, why did you do this that way, or why didn't you do this or that, or my response a lot of times when I was with the volunteer service was, see the V, I'm a volunteer. I can't get fired. I mean, I could maybe get booted out of the service, but I can't get fired. I'm a volunteer.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's 3 a.m. in the morning and I've gotten out of bed to help a neighbor, and you're going to jump on my ass. Yeah. I mean, that was the most annoying part. Was usually ER staff, doctors or nurses that were oftentimes having a bad day themselves and would decide to take it out on you.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the kind of guy that was not going to handle that well. And then once I was a supervisor and manager, they'd be like, I'm going to call your boss. I am my boss.
It's me.
The gold badge, white shirt. I am the boss. I mean, you could call the board of directors, I guess. I mean, I'm thinking they're going to have my side. But, that was... Patients, they're having a bad day. Families, they're having a bad day. You can give them... Yeah. I'd cut them all the breaks. And not that we didn't have really difficult ones and ones that were frustrating. But they're allowed.
Yeah.
It's not their job to be professionals. They're in the middle of crisis. But when you roll into people that are getting paid way more than you, mm-hmm. even when you're being paid, doctors making $180,000, asking why you passed a whole bunch of hospitals in the middle of the night.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I had nothing better to do. I didn't want to sleep. I'm sorry you woke up from your nap.
Exactly. So you have some... having been through it all, do you have some practical advice for someone who wants to get into this type of work?
Well, it's changed. The training courses have changed. In some ways for the better, some ways for the worse. Some places are becoming basically an associate's degree, but now there's a bachelor's degree you can get to be a paramedic as well, master's degrees. So it's becoming a lot more academic. When I first started, it was mostly through community college. Although I did do training for part of it, Center for Emergency Medicine, which is part of Pitt Medical School. I lucked out and then eventually got hired by them as well. But it's kind of figure out where you are and what your state's going to require you to do. Where do you want to practice? Because if you don't want to practice in Pennsylvania, it might not be really worthwhile you doing your training here.
Oh yeah, you want to go where you want to stay.
Although recently Pennsylvania switched to the National Registry, so now any state that does National Registry, which about half of them do.
Oh, okay.
Which recently changed. But yeah, figure out where you want to practice, figure out what their requirements are going to be and what training they're going to take, because you don't want to waste 6 months, 9 months, a year of your life to go somewhere and realize you're going to have to redo all that stuff again, pay for it all again. So that'd be step one. Where do you want to practice? And then what kind of medic do you want to be? Do you want to work with an ambulance service? Do you want to be a flight medic? Do you want to work, like a paramedic partner in the ER? Mm-hmm. Basically kind of functioning as a little bit under like a nurse. Basically doing what a nurse does, administering drugs, but we could do some things nurses can't do as well. Kind of figure out because that kind of, you'll want to lean towards, doing more clinical time in the ER, befriending these, getting in with them and getting to do the things that they do, because not all medics, in the field I do certain things. In the ER I would do another set of things more often, or a lot more, because you're in the hospital and there's a doctor and they'll let you do things. Oh, go ahead. You're allowed. You're trained to do it. Go ahead. In the field, we usually didn't have time to do it.
Yeah.
So figure out where you want to go. Figure out what kind of medic you want to be, and then study your ass off and basically live, breathe it for a long time, because it's a lot of hours. It's not just classroom hours, it's clinical.
Yeah.
Like if you learn cardiac care, you go to CCU. So you're doing heart rhythms and all that. So you're going to sit in front of EKG monitors all night, and, for like 12 hours and write up reports and then, make sure you've been checked off on this. when you do, anatomy, physiology, they're going to send you to the morgue. And you have to do autopsies, assisted autopsies. When you do psych, you're going to go to the psych unit, So every time you learn something, you then have to go somewhere in the hospital or in the field. And then if you don't get to do, you have to deliver a baby, at least one.
Yeah.
Or you just keep cycling in labor and delivery until you deliver a baby. Because they need you to deliver that baby in the hospital before they're going to send you out in the field and say, yeah, have at it.
Exactly.
I mean, not that there's anything really complicated. Typically, it's pretty much playing catcher.
Yeah.
Here, swing, swing, bada. It's just kind of hanging out and let it comes out. But every once in a while, there's some really serious complications, some scary stuff. But everything is, learn the skill, do the skill again, get signed off on it, move on to the next skill, learn it, do it, get signed off on it. So,
have you delivered a lot of babies?
3.
3? Okay, it's a good number.
Yeah, 2 in the hospital, 1 in the field.
How was the one in the field? What happened?
It was a trailer on the hillside of a junkyard.
Oh, they just were like, we're doing it here, and
no. I actually, when I saw the rat scurry across the floor out of the corner of my eye,
this is not a choice.
I was like, you know what? No, child. This is no. I went to the ambulance. I was like, yeah, and then I get delivered to the ambulance, but I was just like, no, we're not. No, that's just that. Yeah, that one bothered me a lot. It's like, no, this is like. I mean, I felt bad for them. It wasn't their fault. They're poor. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was. But yeah, I was just like, yeah, no, that's not your birth story.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were rats scurrying around,
Yeah. Back of an ambulance, it's like, oh, that's nice.
Nice and sanitary, nice and clean. Plus, I was just kind of grossed out, like, ew. But yeah, be prepared, and it's not going to necessarily go as planned because of that.
Yeah.
Because
there is no planning.
You don't. If there's sick people that day and they fit the criteria that you need to do those skills, then bingo. If not, you just wait and wait and wait until that patient comes along. And that's for nurses and doctors and everyone run into that problem. But realize that, oh yes, maybe this course is supposed to be 1,000 hours, but you end up doing 1,800 because of all the things you needed to do that couldn't get done because of happenstance. Yeah.
Like, you just got to check those boxes when you can.
And I think medics that train at smaller hospitals, they have that problem more. Like, I went to Presby or Allegheny General Hospital or Children's. So they're busy.
Yeah.
You need to start IVs on kids? Go to Children's. You will start IVs on kids. They have them all day, all night. Tons and tons of them coming through their ER. You whip that out. I mean, I did like 5 and 8 hours, and boom, it was supposed to be a 16-hour rotation. I was like, 8 hours. I was like, they're like, go home.
You got it.
You did your IVs. There's no point. You're proficient. Other times, if you go to a rinky-dink hospital, an hour outside of the city, they get a cardiac arrest every several days, maybe. Where Allegheny General Hospital gets a cardiac arrest every several hours. Possibly.
Exactly.
But it's an exciting field, and it's unpredictable. Your life is unpredictable. The schedule's unpredictable. I mean, if you don't get it right off the bat in the training and how unpredictable your training is, if that doesn't clue you into the fact that you're choosing a career that's going to be really unpredictable at times.
But I
you're not paying attention.
It's good for a particular type of personality.
Yeah,
I'm attracted to that.
Well, I think that's an important thing, and that would be probably a really good thing to bring up, is if you like seeing something accomplished quickly, it's the job for you. If you like the long haul, the long game, no. Emergency medicine is not that. Emergency medicine is figure out the mystery of the problem really quick, and within this set of protocols that we have, basically we have a book, that runs through all these possible scenarios and options for, care. You have to figure out what it is you're going to follow, what protocol you're going to follow, or what's closest related to that. So I mean, there's kind of critical thinking and mystery solving, putting together clues and things they're telling you, and the vital signs and the cardiac monitor. If you like that kind of thing at a fast pace, it's for you. And it is very satisfying. I'm not a patient person because I don't know if I was an inpatient person before then, but certainly having done it for over a decade.
Yeah.
I don't have time. If I fuck around the way some people fuck around in their jobs, people die. They'd be dead. So but it translated well for me too. In later on, I worked in promoting concerts and raves and club nights and all that. I used all that kind of structure, chain of command, organizational things, and that ability to fast pace. Because if you're the executive producer of a event that has 4,000 people, outdoors event, or I've actually worked on Creation Music Festival, which is like around 46,000 the one year I was there. I mean, I was in top tier management on that one, but I mean, the smaller ones, the 4,000 one I was, and you're in charge of everything. Like the parking, there's a parking problem.
That's a lot of responsibilities, and they all need to be handled very quickly.
Everything. So it definitely prepared me for a lot of different things in life, and I like that approach, and don't do well when people drag their feet or too slow. It's like if there's someone doesn't immediately take or pretty quickly take leadership of a situation, I will.
Exactly.
It's training. It's just like, okay, well, you can't not have a leader. And
if no one's going to step up, then
someone has to. Well, because a lot of times things won't be. We learned if like you see someone have a collapse and have a cardiac arrest. If you don't, and you're going to be the American Heart Association, you got your CPR card, and you're going to assist them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things they teach you is like when you want someone to go get help, you don't just say someone call for help. You point and delegate to someone and make it their job. If not, no one will do it. They will all assume someone else is going to do it. And I've kind of learned that in life is you get into like group dynamics, and if there's not some form of leadership, even when it's loose leadership, people will be assuming other people are going to do it, or people will be all doing the same thing and ignoring these other things. Working EMS and the fire department has made that intolerable for me, but also equipped me to very easily and
it's a good skill set.
Sufficiently and competently take charge of really bizarre and chaotic situations.
Well, since you mentioned the concert promoting and stuff like that, I think that's a good segue to wrap up this portion here. What was the end of your medical career? When did you stop? When did you stop? Why did you stop? Any of those?
Well, I was kind of lucky. I got the chance to work for both in the field for municipal services, volunteer services, paid services, as well as 2 flight services, and one when I was in Arizona. I worked. It was kind of a cool job. We had 3 stations: Phoenix, Tucson, and Redding, California.
Mm-hmm.
And they would send us around to different ones, all 3 of them, so that we'd always know the different people, know the ops, even though I was based in Phoenix. So that was kind of fun to get to travel around. And every time you went to travel, the different bases, they all took you out. Like, here's your new buddy, our buddy from Phoenix, and they it's a big party. But I left Medevac in 2002, I believe. Shortly after my apartment was robbed in South Oakland. I just kind of wanted to get out of there. I mean, I loved it. It was a great place with great people I lived with. But we were robbed, and they were on feet away from my bedroom. My bedroom door was locked, because they ransacked the 2 rooms next to my bedroom. I left Medevac, where I was a communications specialist, basically telling the helicopters and the airplanes where to go, and every once in a while I got to go fly. because I was a paramedic. And then I went to college. I went to University of Toledo.
Oh.
So yeah, it was just kind of like,
I like that.
well, I wanted to finish up my bachelor's degree. I was like, okay, well now my parents live out there. Let me just go and move in with mom and dad and live in their attic, literally. Big attic though, thankfully. Yeah, I got out of it. But I worked through like concert promotions all while I was a medic.
Okay.
At the same time.
All right. Well, we can save that for a whole nother thing.
Absolutely.
I got some questions here. It'll be just fun stuff,
Right.
just to keep it light. All right. So random questions.
Yeah.
Feel free to skip anyone you want, and don't think about them too hard. Just
Okay.
go. What do you have for breakfast
Today? Or just
today, or ideally?
Usually juice, like juice blend, Bolthouse juice blend of some sort or other, Fiber One bar or cookies, spiced chai tea.
Okay, that's good. What's the best advice you ever got?
That I've gotten.
It'd be about anything too. It doesn't have to be pertaining to a job.
That's a good one too. That is, I would say, the best advice I've ever gotten was, don't sweat the small stuff.
All right. Yeah. Good. What movie do you think you viewed the most?
Ooh. Probably. Probably the Lord of the... Or, no, Harry Potter movies now. At this
Harry
point.
Potter
It used to be Lord of the Rings, but probably right now. Because it's always on television or something. And I own all of them. But yeah, it's...
Yeah, I was curious to ask that too, because we're surrounded by like DVDs and Blu-rays right now, and I was like, this is really good shit here. I love that you have the movie Highway. I'm sure I've told you that sometime before, that is an underrated movie.
I love when they're rolling.
Yeah, they're the best. What's your biggest fear?
I really have two.
Okay, go.
One would be just embarrassing myself. It's,
I think that's relatively universal.
And I think, specifically, just being, the type of gay guy that really doesn't want children or anything like that. I still want to make sure that I have a legacy. That I leave something. It won't be through children, but I will hopefully touch some people's lives that will live past me, and that will be a blessing or help to other people, or do something good because I enabled them to, or somehow made that possible.
I like that a lot. I like that just the way that's crafted, because that's, I don't have any kids either, and it's just like, I'd like to leave something.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, and then that's just as important too, I think. You
Doesn't have to be kids.
Yeah, not everyone should have kids.
Definitely.
I've learned that as a medic. Not everyone should have kids, but everyone should aspire to have some sort of legacy left. Good legacy that they left behind.
I like that. Candy. You can have any kind of candy on the planet. What do you want?
Oh my! Right now, I'm addicted to Red Hots.
Red Hots. Okay.
I have a box in my bedroom right now. I have to have a box of Red Hots in the house.
I don't know if I've seen a box of Red Hots in years.
Yeah.
All right. Childhood hero.
Childhood hero. I honestly can't remember or think of who would have been a childhood hero. I honestly, other than probably fictional characters in
That's
movies
fine.
and things like that.
I'm fine with that. There's no rules here.
Yeah, I was just old enough to start to get it when Star Wars came out. I was probably, when I first saw it, as like 8 years old.
Okay.
6. I think it came out when I was 6, so I saw it when I was 8. So I really loved Luke.
Oh, okay.
Luke would have been my...
It's the hero, of course.
A Jedi Knight. You're a badass monk, basically.
What kind of soap do you use?
Olay.
Olay.
Body wash.
Good stuff.
I think the cinnamon one is in there now.
Cinnamon. I don't know they had cinnamon. That's awesome. Last pic you took on your phone. You don't have to show me. Just offhand.
Let's pick I took on my pitch. Phone. Might have been a screen capture.
Of?
I don't know. Let's find out. That's a good question. I don't remember. Actually, the last picture I have is someone from Grindr sent me their picture because they didn't have a picture in their profile, and I will not talk to you if you don't have a picture of your profile. I don't talk to faceless people in a bar, on the street. I'm not having a conversation to you on your smartphone that has a freaking camera if you don't have a picture of your face, not your feet, not your ass, not your dick, not your chest, not your hair, your face. But so
yeah, that's
then
fair.
I save them then so that I have future reference, and also sometimes because people like to scam other people's pictures. So if you got like a couple people saying they're the same person,
oh, yeah. Stock photo, that's
like
you.
so I save those.
All right, biggest pet peeve.
Annoying interviewers. No, I'm
I
kidding.
was just saying, like, oh wait, that's me.
I think I'm just impatient. So anyone that's just taking too long unnecessarily is going to be that's a pet peeve. Just fucking get it done.
Absolutely.
Unless we're chilling. I mean, I'm all for this.
But in life, though,
but
you know those people that are just like,
yeah,
come on, pick up the pace here. What are we doing?
Yeah, don't fuck around. Like, don't talk on your phone while you're checking out.
Yeah,
checkout line, or juggle 20 things. You check out and move because there's 5 of us behind you. We want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I try to go as fast as I can because I know the people behind me.
And that drives me nuts. The people that have no situational awareness whatsoever.
That's a great one.
Or if they do and they just don't care. And it's like, I don't know which one I'm more mad at.
Yeah.
Anyway, what type of music do you prefer and why?
Well, first, I my musical tastes, and I listen to almost anything and everything. I would say, in general, my 2 favorite would be electronic dance music, the little EDM, not the big EDM, bouncy, dubby, the bro step bullshit, like house, breaks, drum and bass.
The more classically
techno,
understood
tech
electronic
house,
dance music.
Or alternative rock. I mean, I grew up on, everything from the Smiths, Susie and the Banshees, the Pearl Jam and Nirvana came out when I was still young. Live, 311, and even still, and like the new stuff, there's a lot of great new alternative rock bands. So, it's either going to be dancey or alternative rock.
That's good. That's a good answer.
Although a good cheesy pop song.
Well,
I love a little cheese.
What's the hardest time you ever laughed?
The hardest time I ever laughed? Would have been when a fellow paramedic and a friend of mine shot Little Debbie, the cake had little chocolate chips on top of it.
Yeah.
And somehow he laughed so hard that they came flying out of his nose and one hit me in the face.
The chocolate chip?
I laughed and I laughed. It was just like, how? Like, I want them to on Discovery Channel to detail this, like how this happened, how you inhaled. I mean, they're because they're stuck on the.
Oh yeah,
they're embedded. So how did it get loose and then into your nose? It was just. I laughed. for good. And then we just had to keep telling people, it's at the fire hall too. It's a bunch of guys, and most of them are immature. So yeah, I laughed and laughed at that. But the freaking chocolate was shooting out his nose.
That's a good one.
He also had the worst fart in the world. He farted so bad we had to park the car. We were coming back from the movies.
Yeah.
We had to stop at the hospital ER. And just hang out at the ER because the fart was so bad in the car. And I couldn't stop laughing. I was crying laughing, but that was also, he anytime he had garlic. And it lingered too.
Ugh.
We were in the ER bullshitting with the medic and the nurses, for a good hour. We came back up to the car. The windows were all open. stench was like in
Wow.
the fabric of the seat.
That is a powerful.
And then I started
fart.
laughing again. I was just like, you could have get that checked. I mean, there's somebody crawl up and they die. What the fuck? But yes, he was good for making me laugh, Aaron. Sadly, we're not friends anymore.
No, that sucks. But at least you got the story.
Yeah, I got a lot of good stories from him.
Okay. If someone gave you $1,000 now, what would you do with it? Do whatever you want with it. Just $1,000.
Ooh, buy a MacBook, a used refurbed MacBook, and probably a recorder.
All right. If someone gave your
Maybe a drum machine too.
If someone gave your 18-year-old self $1,000, what do you think he would do with it?
What would I have done it back then? Probably would have bought clothes back then.
Makes sense.
Clothes and music would have
Yeah.
been what I would probably done.
That's fair. What's something you wish you learned earlier?
Dating and romance.
Can you elaborate?
Well, when you're gay in a straight world,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get when you would normally in junior high school date.
Yeah.
Most of us, and it's changed now, but back in the 80s when even though I came out in high school, there's not that opportunity to really develop, like, have the first loves, the crushes, the puppy love, and all that with the same gender that the actual gender that you're interested in. So that gets delayed to like college or sometimes later.
Yeah.
And it would be better to like do all that stuff when it's normally done, to not like developmentally delay. Or plus, it's like in your late 20s or mid 20s, you go through your first really hard love breakup.
Yeah.
It's way rougher than when you're. I think you're just. Yeah, it's a lot more tough. I think I would have much rather have done it like at 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
And that, like, all the, then, and people understand that then.
Yeah.
When you're 25 and, like, going crazy nuts and mopey and all that, they don't get it. It's like, really, grow up. But it's like, this is the first time I've done this. Like, this is it. You got to do it 10 years ago. I didn't. This is it. So you're sorry you have to put up with it. But yeah, I definitely wish I would have learned that. Because I think I'd be settled down now if I had.
Yeah.
I would still be catching up.
Yeah. I never really thought of it that way, but yeah, that makes total sense. Like, very frustrating. Let's see. Do you have any sleep habits or rituals?
Yeah. Absolutely. First of all, I don't like to go to bed dirty.
Okay.
And if you're my partner, or going to crawl in my bed, you shouldn't go in my bed dirty either. I just like that. Just
it's a good rule.
Yeah, I'd like
jump
in the shower. I just be clean and put clean t-shirt on or clean underwear, and it should be clean. It's not all icky.
I couldn't agree more.
But so I'm always clean. So brush my teeth, gargle, turn the TV on, set the timer, or sometimes music. But I have to fall asleep with something on.
So you set the TV for how long at a time?
It's 60 to 90 minutes usually.
Oh, okay.
And then I usually fall asleep. It's usually some like Nick at Night or TV Land or something like that. Although if I'm sleeping with someone, I don't necessarily need that.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm in a relationship dating, I can crawl into bed and just.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I think there's comfort in hearing the voices and all that, like, connection of some sort.
Yeah. Well, the next thing I have here is childhood celebrity crush, but I guess we kind of covered that with Luke Skywalker. Or you want to add another one in, since it's kind of a double whammy of a question?
Yeah, there were. I mean, a lot of hot guys when I was growing up on TV and movies.
Well, let's rattle some up.
What were the? Can't think of anything from the 80s right now, but I know there were. What the hell? I can remember like an ER but that was in the 90s. That was much later. I was already in my late teens.
The younger years, the formidable years.
Yeah.
Really.
had to be there, but I just can't think of one.
That's all right. We got Luke Skywalker. That's all.
I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, yes,
got it.
That's who it was.
All right, we'll end on this one because I think we went a little long, but that's good. If you could do anything for a living, what would you do? And I mean anything.
Oh, I mean, I know exactly what I would do, and it's I would run a nonprofit.
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of something that's I've had in the works for a number of years. In this current environment where religion is specifically Christian religion is given priority over anyone and everything else, it seems. I like to fight fire with fire.
Okay.
And I think any number of things can be religion. I would start a religious organization representing ravers.
Okay.
Well, actually, there's a number of books on the religious movement. It's a new religious movement.
Okay.
Rave community.
If people are interested, where can they read about it? Or...
Transformation is one. Can't think of her name, but that would be. Well, I mean, really, if you go to the book Generation Ecstasy or Energy Flash, which are on ecstasy and rave culture, he starts not only does he kind of like talk about the music and all the different genres and how they developed everything, but specifically talks about how some of us early on, and I started back in '92. I was one of the early ravers because it started in like '89, '90. So Pittsburgh's a little slow, and I was here. But as soon as it came here, I was
in it.
Boom on that. I'm not new agey mystical. I'm an atheist, although I trained in Catholic seminary.
Yeah.
Religious history and psychology and philosophy are my undergrad. But it's primal, it's tribal, it's going back old school. We're talking pre the Greek philosophers that Socrates and Plato. The orgastic rites, they were raving. It's active trance dancing, basically. It's active meditation. You're altering your state through music, repetitive beats, movement, drugs, and you're doing neural tuning, and you're experiencing many things in your brain. Similar things to if you were speaking in tongues as a Pentecostal, or praying and just meditating as a Buddhist. They're all interconnected and very similar. And because of that, and because of the community, the love, I mean, there's an overriding principle of peace, love, unity, respect. Although we oftentimes fail at that. There's DJs or shaman.
See.
Promoters are creating religious experiences, the church, the worship service, the liturgy. Knowing that and knowing that there's a lot of academic work and a number of people who are way smarter than I and invest a lot more into it, going, this is actually a new modern religious movement. I think we should defend ourselves, our right to dance and party the same way.
Okay.
And not be like some I'm talking about educated, trained.
No, I mean, I'm very curious about this book. This is the first time hearing about it.
Clergy or elders or leaders who are in tune with the theory and the community, know the music, know the scene, know the people, know the history, and then taking that and saying, okay, well, we want to dance till from sundown to sunrise, but you have this law that says I can't in this city. Yeah. Well, that's my religious service. That's my worship.
I see it now.
If Christians can get away with it, and they're make-believe person in the sky and who had to kill his son and all this bullshit, then I, who's going back to the big tribal huts when they beat on the drums and drink, potions that had mushrooms and THC weed and other things that we don't even know about because it happened
Yeah.
10,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But they were, or out in a big bonfire, they would dance in circles and would beat on jugs and things like that. But that beat, that rhythm, that frequency, it's always been religious to us. Now, is it mystical, magical? No, I don't think so. But our brains somehow picked up.
What did you call it before? Neural tuning?
Yeah, neural tuning.
Okay.
If you've ever had a flashback or heard of people have flashback or rollbacks on ecstasy, you're basically, your brain's recalibrating to that experience. I recently had one. I'll leave you with this. Radio 1 had, before they went to Ibiza to do their annual Radio 1 in Ibiza weekend, they had one of the, I think it was Jamie Jones, did a flashback of like 90s, early 2000 music that was hot in Ibiza. And these classic tracks that I know so well. Now, I was in pain.
Yeah.
My back was killing me. My feet were bothering me because I'd been jogging earlier. I was walking to Giant Eagle, which is, about a 4-mile round trip. Walked out the door. Set started. It was only like a 10-15 minute little mini set.
Yeah.
By the time I got about past, was that Kelly or?
Yeah.
There, I started to feel a warmth in my feet, rolling up. It was like the pill had just kicked.
Wow.
And my eyes, it hit my head, my eyes were like, I couldn't focus, I couldn't see. I was rolling. I was hardcore faced rolling. The back pain disappeared. I was a little frustrated and angry and just kind of feeling blah. Gone.
Wow.
And all it was is that music.
It just kicked up.
Triggered the neural tuning that programming that's already been there from an altered state previously. It kicked it. And for about 10 minutes, I was faced. I felt like I had just popped a double stack of 140 milligrams of MDMA. It was fantastic. That's a real thing. Flashbacks with acid are a real thing. It's also neural tuning. Your brain is resetting itself for recalling an experience, a memory through sound frequencies or sights, and it triggers and just brings that whole feeling back.
Bring it back around.
Reality is what your brain tells you it is. Yeah. If your brain says you're on ecstasy right now, even though you're not, you very well what you're gonna feel. You're on ecstasy. Yeah. We have amazing brains.
It's incredible, and I think that's a great place to go out on. Yeah. So, thank you for doing the show.
Thank you.